Welcome, everybody, all the guests and the panel and our interpreters. Um, I'm just going to go around and introduce you to the people on the panel so they can say hello, and then we'll hear from them one at a time. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Mara Brown, uh, Director of Carleton Dominion Chalmers Center, Carleton University.
Yes, hello everyone, and really glad to be here this afternoon. Director of Carleton Dominion Chalmers Center, and I'll be looking forward to just speaking about, the venue perspective this afternoon. Thanks, Liz.
Okay, and David Beaubier is here with us today. And David
Hello.
is the director. Oh, sorry, David. I was just going to say you're the director, curator of Vibrafusion Lab, bridging practices in accessibility, art, and communication.
Yes, thanks, Liz. Yes, David Beaubier here. I'll be talking about the Vibrafusion Lab project and talking a little bit about some of the technology that we work with. So thank you.
And then from Propeller Dance, we have Shara Weaver.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shara Weaver. I am co-director at Propeller Dance with Renata Suter. And we have some other people from Propeller here with us today as well, including Liz. And we're really looking forward to the conversation today. Thanks, Liz.
And also from Propeller, our administration and communication coordinator, who is Allison Burns.
Hello, thank you, Liz. Yes, I'm a woman in my mid-30s. I have shoulder-length brown hair. I'm wearing a Propeller Dance t-shirt, and I'm sitting in my home this morning, and I'm looking forward to talking about more Propeller Dance work a little later on.
Thanks, Allison. And finally, we have from Carleton University, composer, percussionist, visual artist from the Faculty of Music, Jesse Stewart.
Hi, thank you, Liz, and hello, everyone. Very pleased to be a part of this panel with people that I consider both colleagues and friends. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. So our topic is digital innovation in the arts. And yeah, we're sort of a collection of people that have only been brought together for we've been together in different configurations, but brought together in this group for this panel. And definitely digital innovation has been huge to all of us in the last year of the pandemic. So we'd like to share some of our experiences with you. And then after we do that, we're going to have a surprise, fabulous interactive performance activity. So let's go back to the beginning and start with Mara Brown, and she's going to share with us some of her reflections.
Thank you. So yes, Carleton Dominion Chalmers Center is actually Carleton University's first downtown building, and it's an arts, performance, and learning center. We are a newer building for the university, but a historical building in the community. The venue is serving both university and community user groups, and our team is so fortunate to welcome a wide range of ages and backgrounds at hundreds of events that have been hosted in the building already to date. We really strive to make super positive space that is ready to accommodate as many guests as possible. And one of our greatest challenges parallels actually one of our greatest charms. We are a 1912 heritage building, and the spaces have great character. But at the moment, we do encounter many setbacks related to our physical, acoustic, and lighting environments. So just this past year, we actually engaged an architectural firm to complete a very high-level master plan as a step towards future hopes of addressing many of these challenges in the years to come, keeping accessible design at the forefront for sure. And as mentioned, we are here today to speak to digital innovation in the arts. So live streaming has certainly been our most recent digital effort. And that was something that was actually planned to be integrated into our building many years from now, but we had to accelerate plans as a result of the pandemic. And interestingly, I was fortunate to work with live streaming about a decade ago. And it's been really, really interesting to see some of the inherent issues that existed then actually still exist today. So I'm thinking, in relation to artistic integrity and best practices to represent the creator's vision. And there's obviously a myriad of challenges related to technology, whether it be access, affordability, user friendliness, training, education about what is live stream versus pre-recorded and edited material and beyond. So I'd like to say though that, the public access to, higher speeds of internet has certainly helped along the years. And one of the biggest changes that I can identify today is actually the human capacity to embrace online delivery of raw live art, which was formerly a really significant concern with trying to host those types of events. So, to be able to quickly mobilize live streaming services, our CDCC planning team was required to face a ton of setbacks in reference to back orders and having to reorder and cancel some equipment, learning brand new software and gear to overcome a lack of internet in the building, to make sure we were overcoming some poor lighting to suit the needs of cameras themselves. We definitely had to standardize and then widely share what best practices could look like for those that it was new for, and to try and accommodate special requests for the individual clients' efforts to connect with their audiences. I mean, time was also a fascinating factor in the equation. Which reinforces actually that anytime barriers exist, additional time certainly has to be factored in as part of the process to have more fruitful outcomes. But I've been so impressed by the few tiny group recordings and the few tiny group live streamings that have been hosted by groups at CDCC, and really happy to report that as of this April, they had actually secured over 41,000 online views, and those numbers get to continue to grow. So live streaming will certainly remain an important service option for groups to keep connecting with people in sustained isolation, and for those who may require the comfort of their own home to experience a live performance. And, moving beyond COVID, we're hoping that will be soon, and reflecting on some goals in the building for the future. We certainly have exciting plans to create a space that is currently being called ear space. So that is expressive arts research and recording space. So it's intended to be a professional audio video recording and post-production studio, but it will also be a research creation lab for developing, conducting, documenting performance-based applied research to make sure that we can explore how music and sound intersects with movement, visual media, storytelling, theater, and creative technologies. We're really hoping it will be this fantastic, high-tech space. And, just as a quick consolidated description that we have shared here. So a welcoming space where communities can come together to tell the stories that matter to them, to develop meaningful and innovative ways of negotiating difference, to explore, document, and disseminate the cultural aspects of societal issues, from racism to disability rights, from mental health to climate change. And we reinforce that what makes ear space distinctive among other research creation and recording facilities in Canada will be its commitment to EDI, to participant action research, and to reciprocal community engaged projects. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to take a quick moment here. This is actually not a public document, but I thought that this would be a really great opportunity just to share, hopefully, a little snippet of what this space is hoped to be visualized as. So just one moment here. And I trust that you can see this. So I'm going to just super briefly just give you a sense of what this space can look like from a bird's eye view. So along this left-hand side, there is an audio-visual booth for the technical racks and that sort of thing. We have 2 proposed isolation booths to ensure that there can be the separated the recording opportunities where necessary. A lovely sized control room where there's a ton of recording capabilities, a necessary electrical room. And then this is what's really, really different and exciting. It's not just a small recording space. It's this quite a sizable research creation lab where we hope to have sprung dance floor that can be accessible for mobility devices and beyond. And there'll be a ton of different technology that would be introduced into the space to be able to interact with. Additionally, there's this lovely breakout room that's proposed that you see on the right-hand side, where in this particular vision, you could imagine, breakout sessions or small classes, or maybe even being a lounge when necessary. So that's, again, a little confidential sneak peek of a draft version of what this ear space can look like. And as far as the space itself, CDCC is so fortunate to be working with various stakeholders, including specifically Dr. Ellen Waterman, who is actually the Helmut Kalmont Chair for Music in Canada, to keep this vision of ear space moving forward. And while we're planning and fundraising for that renovation, we are very glad to be hosting some of her events actually in the upcoming year. We will plan to be the main venue, for example, for her research and public events associated with the newest MISC, which is the Research Centre for Music, Sound and Society in Canada. And that will be actually dedicated to exploring the very complex and diverse roles that music and sonic arts can play in Canadian society. And I adore this one specific project that is going to be launched this fall as well, called Resonance. So that's where Dr. Waterman and others will be pairing with Carleton's own art gallery, QAG, to work with professionals and community musicians from the deaf and LGBTQ2S+ communities to explore issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion in music. And there's going to be a really interesting co-creation of original music in response to 2 separate art exhibitions. And through this project, we are expecting that our live streaming services that we've implemented this past year will also play an active role in the events. And I'm so glad that I understand that colleagues here from Jesse and Propeller Dance, I understand, have already made a commitment to make important contributions to the forthcoming research efforts. So before I pass it along, I'd just like to share a couple of moments of reflection. I was really thinking about READ, and thank you again for inviting us to be here this afternoon. READ standing for Research, Education, Accessibility, and Design. And I thought, what is that short list of words that could really suggest artistic impact that is deeply rooted with social impact? And I came up with just this mini little list of creativity, research and investigation, consultation, assessment and evaluation, risk-taking, problem-solving, adaptation, and time. And afterwards, as I was looking at these words, I really saw how it was very easy to see how our various fields and our initiatives so nicely intertwine, particularly when we're looking at efforts in accessible design, etc. So in closing, I do hope that CDCC can offer a very safe and gradually digitally enhanced venue where amazing artists and community members can collide and innovate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mara. That's so full of just, exciting potential. And there's a lot of wisdom there. Thank you. And the Resonance project sounds really, really like it's going to be cutting edge. So thank you so much. And let's go now to David.
Hello, everyone, again. David here, David Bobier. I'm a white male with long white hair, white mustache, white goatee. I'm wearing dark glasses, headphone red and black. I have a black t-shirt. In the background is the ceiling of our upstairs sort of loft area. Wow, yeah, Mara, that sounds really exciting. Next time I'm in Ottawa, I'm going to be inquiring about the possibility of having a tour. But that sounds really great for Ottawa. So I'm going to share my screen now. And where are we here? Sorry. Uh-oh. Hang on. You're not seeing that, right?
Liz, it's Moira. I'm going to suggest that maybe we move to the next speaker and give David a chance to clear his screen share issues. Yes?
Yeah, that's a really good idea. So let's talk to the folks from Propeller Dance. And we'll start with the co-director and co-artistic director, Cheryl Weaver. Oh, we have to unmute you.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to just pass it right away to Allison, just because Allison has been amazing, has brought a lot of, has been spending a lot of time doing digital research as we pivot to more digital work with Propeller. So she's going to speak first, and then I'll speak to a new project that we're starting.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Shara. First of all, Propeller Dance is an integrated contemporary dance company based here in Ottawa. And the three main pillars of the company are a professional performance company, an education program, and a kind of outreach. So it's a multifaceted organization that does a lot of different things. And it seems to have doubled what it does in the recent year that we've had. So I'm going to speak to what the organization as a whole has done in terms of digital adaptation. Just as Mara was saying, some of this was already in the works prior to the pandemic and was accelerated by it. And some of it is specifically adaptations for, screen sharing worked out. I'm going to keep motoring and just go ahead and talk more about what Propeller's been doing recently. So since March 2020, when in-person classes were no longer available, Propeller Dance has put all of their education program classes online. So that's 4 a week that they run. And this has been happening over Zoom. We've maintained almost all of the students that we had in person. And the big bonus has been allowing students in from outside of Ottawa. So particularly there's a lot of interest from Toronto people to join the classes, and that's now available to them. So that's been very exciting and hopeful. And there's already discussion about how this has created more accessibility for some, and then for some it hasn't. But how can we maintain that connection with the community outside of Ottawa for our education program? We've also been evolving the accessibility of these classes along with the platform. Zoom's been making a lot of changes. We've had volunteers writing closed captioning until the transcript tool became available. We trained the education team in simple dance-specific ASL vocabulary so that they could at least baseline communicate with their students through ASL. The performance company usually also trains in person and rehearses in person. So that's also gone digital through the Zoom platform. As a result, some of the training has focused on dance for screen as opposed to dance as a live format. And again, the geographical borders have widened. So we've had instructors come in from beyond Ottawa to educate the company, including people from Montreal, Vancouver, and even the UK. So this has been a really big, exciting win for the company to be able to access knowledge that was previously limited by geography. Propeller Dance has also created and implemented a digital presentation series. This is something meant to have a national reach, and it is also highly accessible. These presentations include ASL interpretation, audio description, and closed captioning of different elements. They are meant to present some repertoire from the company along with an interactive element. These interactive elements can be movement workshops, talkbacks with the artists, etc. This was a major exciting project that is underway right now with Propeller Dance. In addition to that specific project, Propeller Dance has also hosted many digital community events. These are things such as dance parties, children's programming, and presentations by the education program. This work, along with maintaining the education classes, has been instrumental in supporting a sense of community and well-being amongst the education program participants. There's a lot of people for which their weekly class is a highlight, where the end of year presentation is something to look forward to, and to be able to adapt and continue to provide that has been really important for the community. Prior to the pandemic, Propeller Dance created a dance film circuit, which is with the choreography by I'm so sorry, by Shara Weaver, who is here right now, who I'm looking at, choreographed this wonderful piece that was turned into a dance film. And this has been screened several times since its creation throughout the pandemic, including as part of our MASK programming. So MASK is multicultural arts in schools and communities. This is typically, again, an in-person workshop series where schools or communities would book the company to come in and present. So we've adapted our workshops for digital format, which takes the form of two different facets per workshop: a pre-recorded video and an interactive element with artists from the company. And the interactive element happens over Google Meet, which is the preferred platform for the education programs. And that has been very popular. And also we've been able to we're in the middle of creating French language versions of these workshops, and the French language workshops that we have already put out for availability has been very popular. So that's really exciting for the organization as well, to not only expand accessibility, just to continue to expand accessibility in other ways, including through language. As Shara was saying, I have spent some time researching and implementing digital accessibility best practices for the organization. This was something that the company invested in right away when the pandemic hit. And for example, some of the things that we have made standard use since then is camel case hashtags, using proper capital letters to separate words in hashtags, image descriptions for social media posts and on our website, closed captionings for meetings, for rehearsals, for classes. And the company is undergoing a website redevelopment right now with a heavy focus on accessibility. We cannot wait to launch that. Another perk to the changes that are being made right now is, again, new partnerships. Again, with the boundaries, the geographical boundaries just disappearing, we've been able to create whole new partnerships with different organizations across Canada and beyond. So there are a lot of silver linings to the pandemic experience with Propeller Dance and what can be done with digital accessibility. I'm going to turn it over to Shara now. Shara is going to speak to a very, very exciting project that Propeller Dance is undergoing at the moment.
Thanks, Allison. So I'm sitting in Elmer. I recently moved. I live in Elmer, Quebec, and I have dark brown hair and brown eyes. I have white skin. I use the pronouns she and her. And yeah, thanks a lot, Allison, that was a great synopsis of everything we've been doing. We've been doing so much this season, and the digital, as Allison said, the digital strategy was part of our strategy before the pandemic hit. And, you know, like so many other organizations, the pandemic just launched us into, hey, how are we going to keep people healthy and dancing and connected during this time? So it has lent a lot of space for opportunity for us. And I can think back to like last April and getting on the phone with some of our peers across Canada, Momo Dance in Calgary and All Bodies Dance in Vancouver. Talked to some folks in Montreal, Joe, Jack, and John, about how the heck are you going to how are we going to keep our inclusive groups dancing through this time? And we just started talking and networking, throwing ideas back and forth mostly around Zoom. And just really, the question kept coming up about how can we create digital platforms that are truly accessible for super integrated groups of people, like Propeller works with, and how can we make sure that access is part of inclusive design and not an add-on later on. So we started talking to the David Beaubiers and a whole bunch of different digital experts. And we wrote a application to the Canada Council, brought a bunch of digital experts together that have background in inclusive design. So we contacted some folks that work in inclusive education, platforms that have, say, big visual cues. We're getting a lot of feedback from, we have a lot of students with cognitive disabilities that need more visual cues. They also need more support at home to learn how to use these platforms. More color contrast. How can we, basically there's just so many barriers, as you all can imagine and know, from having a computer and having access to a computer to learning more about technology. So this project we applied for, it looks at the challenges of digital, but also the beautiful opportunities that it poses. And the project is looking at, it's in two parts. The first part is we're having digital presentations with our creative partners, and the digital presentations will educate artistic directors, but also, most importantly, artists across Canada, from a very diverse group of artists. And we're going to be looking at haptic technology. We're going to be looking at virtual reality, gaming and development, inclusive education, as I already said, sound augmentation. So we're going to start with some presentations, and then the second part is we're actually going to move into working in studio, and we're really hoping to bring our creative partners from across Canada into the studio with us to work with some of these technological experts and inclusive design experts. So David Beaubier's team, David's here today. He will be one of our creative partners involved. And the project, I keep calling it like a juicy project because it's a time for us to just play. There's no set, you know, we have to create a piece in, you know, 3 months. There's no, it gives us time, because I think we need to do this work, we need to be working with crypt time. We need to take time. We need to have lots of time to make mistakes and learn. So it's a super juicy project, and already, you know, just organizing it with our amazing project manager, Kate Proctor, we're already learning so many things. You know, we're getting calls in, you know, how can we want to partake in the digital presentations on a phone. So how can I make sure that that person isn't included? Really wanting to, so I'm so excited about the breadth of, like, the diverse group of folks we have involved. I'm really excited about just the networking that's going to be happening with this project. And we're really hoping it's going to be a catalyst for each arts organization to be like, hey, we want to work with Jesse Stewart, or hey, we want to, you know, learn more about Morris Place, or we want to learn more about David Beaubier. And hopefully some more projects will come out of it. And we really thank the Canada Council for their support. And I think I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Shara. It really, listening to you and Allison makes me feel proud of everything we've learned and accomplished in the last year, but also excited about the future. And also just thinking, you know, all these collaborations and even being here today might not have happened if it weren't for the pandemic. So lots of things have unfolded in surprising ways. I'm wondering if we could go to David now.
Hi, I'm going to try now again and share my screen. Are you seeing it?
We can see that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you. Let me just presenter view here. Okay, so I have to really question my abilities as a technical expert when I can't even share my screen. However, we all have trouble with technology at various times. So yeah, I'm just going to try and do a quick overview of Fiber Fusion Lab and the duration of its activities going forward. The first slide I will describe as being white background with black text, first line Fiber Fusion Lab. Following that, digital practices in bridging accessibility, art, and communication. Next line, David Beaubier, founder, director, / Fiber Fusion Lab. And then we have www.wflvibrations.com and email beaubierdavid@gmail.com with a logo Fiber Fusion Lab in the right-hand corner. So Fiber Fusion Lab, the next slide is again white background, black lettering, and the text is Fiber Fusion Lab evolved out of a supportive partnership with Inclusive Media and Design Center, Ryerson University, Tactile Audio Displays, Inc., Toronto, and a 3-year SHIRT grant that was applied through the Ryerson department, and it was a 3-year grant that we received to start up Fiber Fusion Lab in London, Ontario. and it opened in April of 2014, and has since become a much more sort of mobile project that is now operated out of my home studio. So there's sort of four guides that we try to adhere to. First is it is an interactive creative research project that promotes and encourages the creation of new accessible art forms and languages of communication. Secondly, it investigates the potential of vibration as a form of artistic expression and artistic enjoyment. Thirdly, it explores emerging adaptive technologies for their creative and accessible art potential. And fourth, it adheres to the social model of deafness and disability. Okay, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but there's several definitions of the social model of disability, but I'm using this one right now. This is the next slide. Says that disability is caused by the way society is organized rather than by a person's impairment or difference. It looks at ways of removing barriers that restrict life choices for disabled people. I'm just keeping an eye on the interpreter here too to make sure that I give her ample time. So I'm going to show you just a few of the products or the sort of research and development, I guess, that goes on at Vibrofusion Lab. And this slide, again, white background, the text on the top says Vibrofusion Lab projects, systems, and devices. There's two images here. Left image is of 5 different sized sort of pillow shapes that have been retrofitted with vibrotactile systems and can be used in various ways depending on the needs and the accessibility requirements of the individuals. And on the right is an early an image of an early vibrotactile vest that we still use periodically. Typically, when we're working with individuals, we do adapt these various systems, again, specific to their mobility or their sensitivity to sound and vibration. All of those things we take into consideration. Next slide is text at the top again is Vibrofusion Lab projects, systems, and devices. And here we have 2 images again. The left image is of a human-sized, slightly larger than human-sized black wall with several panels that you can see that go sort of vertically up that black rectangular object. These are all vibrotactile transducers, so that when one leans against the wall, depending on how the vibration and the sound is arranged, you get a movement up and down on your body relating to the high and low frequencies of the sound. This wall was a collaborative performance project called Hear, See, Feel What, with Center 3 for Artistic and Social Practice in Hamilton, Ontario. Next slide. Again, the same text at the top of the slide. Vibrofusion Lab projects, systems, and devices. Under that are 2 images again. Left image is a gallery setting, Tangled Art Gallery in Toronto. And the image is of 4 video monitors on the wall, ranged horizontally, or horizontally, sorry. attached to a vibrotactile floor system so that the sound and the vibration was activated through the floors and rather than through the video monitors. These floors are ramped so that they're suitable for mobile wheelchairs or standard wheelchairs, or again, for any sort of mobility device. The right image, you see a number of young people kneeling and sitting on the floors and experiencing the vibration and the sound of the video monitors on their bodies. This was a collaborative exhibition the exhibition was called All That We Accomplish, and it was a collaboration with media artist Deirdre Logue, DEIDRE at Tangled Art Gallery in Toronto. Next slide. Text on the top, Vibrofusion Lab projects. Next line, Deirdre Logue, DEIRDRE LOGUE, who is a media artist and arts administrator. Her performance-based film, video, and installation works are self-portraits, uniquely located between comfort and trauma, self-liberation and self-annihilation. And I'm going to try and play a fairly short video that sort of covers that exhibition in Deirdre Logue's words.
Tonight is the opening of an exhibition called All That We Accomplish. It's at Tangled Art Gallery, which is an organization and exhibition space dedicated to art and disability. 2/3 of the space is dedicated to the gallery, where I have 3 video works, and it's in collaboration with this lovely, amazing man from London. His name is David Bobier, and he's been doing a lot of work with the vibrotactile through this place called Vibrofusion Lab in London.
Vibrofusion Lab is a creative space that explores multi-sensory creation and expression. In each piece, we looked at how do we make it as fully available to all sort of body forms and conditions as possible.
What's exciting for me as a wheelchair user, I'm able to experience the works through vibration in parts of my body I didn't even know I had sensations. To be able to feel the sound in the video is so intimate, but also just sort of playful and lovely. And I was holding the pillow, watching the video, and I was like, oh, I wish I could watch movies like this all the time. The community of artists that are generating energy around Tangled are some of the most important artists of our day. They include artists who are working with and through questions around accessibility and disability. Tonight is the opening.
Oh, sorry. Yes, so there, next slide is titled Vibrofusion Lab Projects. The next line is name of a person, Chisato Minamamura, Chisato Minamamura, Minamamura. Chisato is a deaf dance artist and choreographer based in the UK. Her work brings a unique deaf perspective to dance and music. She explores the visualization of sound, vibration, the relationship between sign language and mime, and advancing digital technology. Scored in Silence is a new solo digital performance that unpacks the hidden perspective of deaf people from the handful that survived the horrors of the atomic bomb atrocity in Japan in 1945. So with this project, we built a wireless system, small wireless system that was embedded in her costume on her back. which allowed her to feel the sound cues as vibration. And we also provided, the audience was, there were 50 members in the audience, and we provided a vibrotactile system for each member of the audience so they could experience exactly what Chisato was experiencing. We now have a linking system that we can set up in theater spaces that will link up to 100 devices. So we can increase our audience now to 100, and each would have their own personal system. What I'm showing you now is a project that we have ongoing. And as a result of COVID pandemic, as you can imagine, quite a number of the devices that we have worked with in the past are no longer usable because of health and safety protocols. So we are working on a handheld device now that is much smaller than what we have in the past, and that the whole system is actually condensed and integrated into one handheld object. And this is the system that will be placed into this object. So what we have here is this is a digital amp that was created by Jim Ruxton, who's a media artist. That's R-U-X-T-O-N, media artist and sole proprietor of Cinematronics, C-I-N-E-M-A-T-R-O-N-I-C-S. And so this is a little digital board. It's about 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. We have a lithium rechargeable battery. This is the transducer here, and the mini jack cord. So a transducer, just for explanation, is a device that converts an energy signal from one form to another. And in the case of Vibrofusion Labs work, it converts sound into vibration. And they come in many, many different sizes. This quickly is a 3D design model for the integrated handheld vibrotactile device that we're working on. And this is designed by, is currently being designed by Rod Strickland, S-T-R-I-C-K-L-A-N-D, and a media artist and professor, School of Creative Arts, University of Windsor. And on there's 3 images here, gray background in each image, and 3D renditions of these shapes of these objects. Rod affectionately calls this the sweet potato model. And you'll see in the next slide here, he's printed out the model. And what you're seeing here is actually quite a transparent casing that fits into your hand. And as I said, all of the devices that I showed you in that last slide is now, will fit inside this case. So there's an on-off switch, there's the audio input, there's a charge here so you can charge the battery, and all of it fits within this area right here. So just quickly to describe these images, there's 3 of them. On the left, the 3D printed object is closed and held in his hand. Second one is the side of the object showing the outputs. And then the third image shows the open object. The idea of the transparency is so when you're charging the battery, you can see when it's charged rather than having to disassemble it. This is a Woodger belt, which I have provided for some of the panel members, which we're going to be using for Jesse's performance coming up right away. This is typical of the device right now that we're using in theater spaces and performance spaces. It's a commercially available vibrotactile system developed by Woodger. And we've been doing some direct sort of partnerships with them because they're interested in exploring sort of more diverse uses for their technology. And I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. There's an image here of two partial bodies with a wooden hand held out with transducers on the fingertips as if to motion to shake someone's hand. And just quickly acknowledgements, there's various people and organizations that we have worked with and that we have received funding from. So that sort of wraps up my presentation. Again, thanks so much for this opportunity and to be able to share this time with the members of the panel. And thank you very much to the interpreters as well. And thank you, Liz.
Thank you, David. I have a question for you that I think it would be good to take this question now. Speaking of the COVID pandemic, I wonder whether there might not be a more generalized desire for this kind of art going forward. Do you, David, think artistic uses of remote vibrotactile systems could provide a measure of the sense of touch that people have been missing in the socially distanced world?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I think absolutely. I mean, what we're finding is we're getting requests from school boards, from group homes, from organizations that their clients are learning disabled or have physical disabilities. I think, yeah, touch is so important. And to be able to experience, for hearing people to be able to experience sound and vibration enriches, the experience, but to be able to provide this kind of accessible support, I'm finding to like you say, people that perhaps, are really suffering during this period of time. Mm-hmm. I will also say that device that we're working on right now, we're hoping to produce it cheaply enough that it would be available for people to purchase potentially for $50 that they could then use for their home device and just plug it into their TV or their radio or their iPhone. So we're hoping it will become something that would be much more readily available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Great answer and great question. So now we're going to move right along to Jesse Stewart, who is going to talk to us a little bit from his perspective and then lead us into our interactive activity.
Okay, thank you, Liz. I'm going to share my screen now, hopefully. Let's just see here. Can you see that? Yes? Okay, good. Yeah. Yes, all right, very good. Thank you. Okay, yes, so I'm delighted to be participating in this panel. My background is in both the visual and sonic arts. I have a background as both a musician and an artist. I'm going to talk mainly about my work in music today, and more specifically about something that I've become increasingly interested in over the past decade or so, and that's the idea of accessible and inclusive music making. So about 10 years ago, I started an organization called We Are All Musicians, or WAM, W-A-A-M is the acronym. And the intention behind this project is really kind of inherent in its name, right? The idea that everybody deserves to have an opportunity to make music, regardless of whether or not they have had musical training, or regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of ability or disability. That's sort of the intention behind this project. And so I wrote the following mission statement here. which says, "Music is a fundamental human right. Everyone deserves to have opportunities to make music, regardless of their level of musical training, income, age, or level of physical cognitive ability. In order to realize this vision, the WHAM project uses a variety of adaptive and assistive technologies in conjunction with more traditional musical instruments in order to foster improvisatory musical interaction, particularly among individuals and communities that have experienced barriers to making music historically, notably children and adults living in low-income situations, individuals with disabilities of various kinds, and the elderly." Now, of course, there have been many incredible musicians with disabilities throughout history. Now, there have been some situations where people maybe have limited motor control and aren't able to hold maybe a traditional musical instrument. And so, what I'm interested in is, okay, if somebody has very limited motor function or limited mobility, well, how can we create an instrument that will adapt to whatever range of motion they happen to have? How can we still make music together in a way that's going to be satisfying and fun for both of us? That's kind of what I've been thinking about in recent years. So now I mentioned I use a bunch of different instruments, mainly percussion, because that's my background, is primarily as a percussionist. So most of them are percussion instruments, or in some cases electronic musical instruments. And I use a combination of low-tech instruments and high-tech. So I use a lot of drums, or makeshift drums. I mean, a cardboard box makes a pretty good drum in a pinch, or a plastic bucket, or these kinds of things. But then I also use some higher-tech instruments that are adaptive and assistive. And I'm going to talk just about just one today in particular. And that's an instrument called the Adaptive Use Musical Instrument, or AUMI is the acronym, which I pronounce AUMI, AUMI. And the idea for the Adaptive Use Musical Instrument didn't come from me. It came from a composer and accordionist and theorist named Pauline Oliveros. And Pauline was a dear friend of mine and a mentor of mine, and someone that I had the good fortune of playing music with on many occasions. And about 15 years ago, at this point, she had maybe even a bit more than that, she had this idea to create a musical instrument that could adapt to anyone's range of motion. So the idea was, how can we make a musical instrument, or a set of musical instruments, that basically can be played by anyone? And so she enlisted the help of a number of musicians and occupational therapists and technologists, both in Canada and the United States. She was American. She at that time was in Troy, New York, at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So I got involved, and there are other people involved, as I say, throughout Canada and the United States. And over the 15 years, it's been a kind of collaborative co-creation, the adaptive use musical instrument. We've all been working on it and refining it and developing it more or less continuously throughout that time. And so I want to talk a little bit about it. It's become a very important tool in my community music toolbox, or in my efforts to be broadly inclusive and in terms of music making, and broadly accessible. So I'll talk a little bit about the adaptive use musical instrument. So this is a screenshot of it can run on a Mac or PC, or on an iOS device like an iPhone or an iPad. This is a screen capture of the desktop version. By the way, this is a free piece of software. It's available through the web at www.aumiapp.com, aumiapp.com. And there are links to the different versions. Now, so at any rate, basically what this does is it's a kind of movement to music technology. So it tracks movement and then converts that movement into sound. Okay, that's essentially what is going on here. I'll show you another screen capture. This is a screen capture of the iOS version, and actually the person in the screen capture, his name is Henry Lowengard. Lowengard is Lowengaard, and Henry does all the coding for the iOS version, and has been just remarkably responsive to suggestions from the rest of the international research team surrounding this project. So at any rate, basically, but there are some differences between the iOS version and the computer version, but basically the same premise holds, and that is that it uses the built-in webcam. And as that webcam senses movement, it triggers sound. And that sound can be configured in many different ways. So it can be many different tuning systems. It can trigger different digital samples. So it can sound like a piano, or it can sound like drums, or it can sound like a sitar or something. So it's adaptive in multiple ways. It can adapt, sonically, certainly. The layout of the screen is also highly adaptable. But it is also adaptive in the sense that there's a zoom function. And this is tremendously useful, certainly in a lot of the settings in which I use this, because if someone can only move a few fingers, or they can only move their eyelid, or something like this, if somebody has very limited mobility, we can zoom in and track that movement, and then whatever motion they have will generate will trigger a sonic output. Okay, so that's essentially how this works. Maybe I'll demonstrate it for you, how it's traditionally used, and then I'll talk about some ways that I've been using it more recently. So let's see here. Hopefully this is going to translate. I hope you're going to be able to hear it. Okay, so we'll turn it on. And let's see now. Oh, that's the wrong program. Hold on a sec. There we go. Here we go. So you can hear some woodblock sounds, okay? And so now it's because I'm not holding it very still, but if I move my hand in front, you can hear the sound, right? And so I'm just using a woodblock sample there, but as I say, we can customize that, change the tuning, change the samples, change it in any way. We can zoom in and so on. So that's essentially how the adaptive use musical instrument works. There's a lot of sound there. So you get, and that's again because I was not holding it particularly steady. So that even that slight movement of the iPad was resulting in the sounds that you were hearing. But again, I want to emphasize that all of those sounds can be changed, and the tuning and so on. Now, the thing is, I've been using this in a different way more recently. I would say for the most part, that's the manner in which this has been used, the adaptive use musical instrument has been used really throughout its history, is to trigger different digital samples. And as I say, it's very useful in that regard. But I've been doing, for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been doing something different with it. And that is, instead of triggering digital samples, I use the same technology. I use the adaptive use musical instrument to send electric signals, electric impulses, called MIDI signals. MIDI, M-I-D-I, stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And so I send MIDI signals to little mechanical strikers that I attach to different, percussion instruments generally. So you have 3 images on screen here. The top left shows an early prototype where I have some of these little mechanical strikers. They're basically they're little mallets attached to solenoids, and that just basically they just go up and down when they receive a MIDI signal from the adaptive use musical instrument. And it's actually, you can see that I have things set on Lego, and this is in part because my kids have outgrown their Lego, but I still use it to build little mounts and things for the strikers, and also for these different percussion instruments that you get these little strikers to play. So it's helpful for me because it's a kind of form of rapid prototyping. I can very quickly build little mounts and things and try different things out. The image on the top right, one thing about this, doing this, is that it's a lot of stuff to lug around and set up. So I thought, wow, it'd be great if I could miniaturize the whole thing. And so I made a kind of miniature version whereby 5 or 6 small percussion instruments can all, and as well as the iPad and the system that controls activates the strikers, they all can be housed within, that's actually an artist's easel, and it has a lid, and so I can bring that and set it up. It has built-in legs even. I could set it up very quickly, and it's easier for me to lug around, faster to set up. So that's kind of a miniaturized version. And then the image at the bottom, for several years prior to the pandemic, I was making music at St. Vincent Hospital in Ottawa, which is a complex care facility in Ottawa. And I would go in each week and in their activity room, and I would set this up, and then people would sit around the table, and we would activate this little percussion installation together and make music together. And my sense is that for a lot of people, I think sometimes there's a clearer sense of causality if somebody moves their hand or their finger or whatever movement they have, and then they hear a sound, but they also see a little mechanical striker play a cymbal or a bowl or a gong or whatever it happens to be. I think there's a clearer sense of causality, and I think my sense is that it's actually maybe a little more exciting, I think, for people to actually do this and then have an acoustic sound happen rather than a recorded digital sample. So this is something I've been using quite a bit. And then, of course, the pandemic started. And so I haven't been able to go to St. Vincent Hospital or to make music in person with anybody for well over a year at this point. And it's something that I really miss, actually. So I started near to the beginning of the pandemic. I thought, I wonder if there's a way that I can build on this system, but then enable people to control it over the internet so that we can still make music together. That was the idea. And so I started making a series of gongs, disc gongs, out of aluminum of different diameters and different thicknesses, and then using this system to activate, to play these gongs. And I actually made quite a few. I made close to 50 of these gongs. I have a very small subset pictured in the image on screen. I also have a very small number positioned here behind me in my home. And at any rate, what I have been working on is developing a dedicated website that will allow people to interact with the gong installation in different ways and to activate the gongs in different ways. So that website is still in the works. But in the meantime, until that is up and running, I have actually been using the adaptive use musical instrument to make music with people on Zoom, so that I can track the Zoom screen using the adaptive use musical instrument, and then the movements that people make on screen will control and activate the gongs. And so I'd like to propose that we give this a try, so the members of Propeller Dance, Liz and Shara and Allison, are going to lead us in some movements. using this is asking a lot of the Omni software to track a zoom screen, but it helps if we use the lights on our phones. If you have a mobile device, yeah, just like Liz is demonstrating now, and you aim that at your webcam, that'll track a little bit better. Now, one thing, I see the other panelists and also our wonderful ASL interpreter. Thank you again. I wonder if we can see the other participants. Hi, Kathy. If we can see the other participants who are on this Zoom call, so that they can have a chance to control the gongs as well. Okay, I see people are coming in here, I guess. Yeah, good. Okay, and then the other thing I'll say about this, hello, so nice to see everybody populating my screen. The other thing I'll say, just the two other things. So what's going to happen here, Liz and Shara and Allison will take turns sort of leading the movement, and they will also describe the emotions that they're doing, and you can follow along. And then collectively, your movements will activate the gongs, so you'll hear the sound of the gongs. I may play along as well. I have a frame drum here. David was mentioning a number of different vibrotactile technologies, including the Wooger belt. And so Allison is wearing a Wooger belt. Yes, you can see it. She's wearing it. And so she can talk about that. The gongs, the frequency range of the gongs is such that it probably is not going to activate the Wooger belt, but my frame drum is has a pretty low tone. And so can you feel that, Allison? You can, yeah. Okay, so she'll be able to talk about that in case people had questions. Ideally, all of you would have Wooger belts, but of course that wasn't possible. Now, the other thing is, so I see we have, on screen, I only see 12 people, but I see that we have 52 participants. So I don't know if there's a way to, turn your cameras on to participate. Yeah, if you don't mind. If you want to participate. If you don't, that's cool too. That's up to you. Okay, so is there anything I'm missing, or shall we give this a try?
I was just going to add, if you want to do this exercise not looking at your screen, you can close your eyes. It's okay. If you want to turn your video off and just move with us, that's awesome too. It's great to see so many people here. But yeah, grab your phones. Does everybody have a phone with a light? The folks that are on the screen?
That works, yeah.
I'll just give you a moment. Wow, more coming now, Jesse. This is awesome.
Great.
Beautiful. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start moving our cell phone from left to right or right to left at a slow pace, back and forth across your Zoom frame. You can think about your Zoom square as a performance. Nice. Really nice. You can go slow, whatever slow is for you. Maybe your slow is faster than my slow. That's okay. And now we're going to take our cell phone and we're going to bring it up to the top of the frame. And then move the right or left, no matter what side, down to the bottom. Other side. So it's like we're making a big circle. Yeah, and if the lights do hurt your eyes, feel free to look away. And now we're going to go back and forth. Let this side a little bit faster now. Allison's going to take it away.
All right, I'm going to bring your light very, very close to the camera so it fills up your screen. And smaller and smaller. Close. Draw the light to one corner of your screen, and then across the screen in a diagonal to the other. Back again. Right off the screen, and you come back to a different corner. A different diagonal across. Back again. Find your way to the center with your light. You're going to spiral now outward. Wider and wider as you go. Reverse the direction. Full circle. Beautiful. I'm going to pass it on to Liz.
Okay, let's come to the center. And then treat your square on Zoom as if it's a dance floor, and you're going to explore the edges of your dance floor. And then you're going to make a big letter Z. And we're going to do slow motion swirling movement. Speeding up. Now our lights are traveling quickly like fireflies. And we're going to go far away. And then close up. And far away. And close up. And now we're going to pretend that our phones are like sparklers. That looks so beautiful. And we're going to finish by doing circles.
Woo!
All right. All right, bravo, everybody. Who's going to write the Canada Council grant so we can take this band on the road once the pandemic is over? Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed that, and thank you, Liz and Allison and Shara. But thank you all for participating. And I, of course, would remind us all that just listening is participating. So for those people who didn't turn on their cameras and just wanted to listen, just wanted to check it out, thank you for that as well. So I think now, do we have a little bit of time for questions, for Q&A? For the whole panel, that is, not just for me.
Sure. Do we have questions, Heather? Did they come in from FeedLoop or? That was fun. That was
Pretty well all the
mind-blowing.
questions came in the chat along the way, and Liz was great about answering them as we went along. So I think we're good.
I think so.
Okay.
Has anybody got anything outstanding that they want to ask this group? It's fantastic.
I'd like to ask Allison how the belt felt.
Yeah.
Yes, well, even when Jesse was just introducing the project, because his voice is nice and low, I got some vibration there. But certainly the drum was the most effective. And Jesse, I don't know the name of the tactic you were using when you rub against it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't
like,
either.
okay. And Jesse's Stewart original, but it felt like that was, you were rubbing against my chest bone. Like there was
Wow.
that vibration was very strong in that moment, and it felt like it really correlated with the sound.
Wow.
I have the opportunity to both hear and feel the vibration of the belt. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yay, success.
Yay. Thank you very much. If there's no other questions, I guess we'll wrap. Oh, was there?
There is
Sorry,
one that just came in the chat.
In the chat.
Elaine Darling
Elaine
asks,
Darling.
would this work at concerts for audience participation? And indeed, it would, and that's part of the kind of long-term goal for this project. That's what I'm kind of hoping we can get to. But for now, it's been helpful for allowing me to connect with and make music with people, all over the place. So last night, for example, I made music with a group of people in Kansas, and
Wow.
I did a residency there in 2017, and we a really wonderful group of musicians. That is a group that is diverse in every way, actually, musically and in every other way, and we had a great time playing music. And of course, it's in Kansas, so it's not that easy for me to get down there for us to play music together again. But I joined their Zoom session last night, and they tried out the gongs, and we had a really nice time. So yes, I think for now that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is doing as a way of facilitating musical interaction, hopefully in an inclusive way. But yeah, I'm hoping that eventually I'm hoping to incorporate this into more traditional concert settings, interactive performances, once we can gather again. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Elaine.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you, Moira, for bringing us all together for this.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. My God.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, it's me thanking you for bringing this to the audience. This was an incredible experience. I mean, mind blown, the music is stunning, and to have that interaction, to be able to help make that music and make it collaboratively and together, it's just what a treat. So thank you, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe at Dominion Chalmers.
Yes.
Yes.